I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Josh?
Yes.
Bob Shank is absent, he's sick. Frank?
Here.
Tom Reese?
Yep.
Nick?
All right, can we have a motion to approve previous minutes? I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, let's move on to petitions and requests from the floor. Derek, you want to go first?
Yeah, if I could, so we've been talking a little bit, with, Bob Shank and with Josh about the decommissioning bonds. Right now, I believe RIC is the entity that is looking to secure their decommissioning bond and start doing a building permit for that project. During the conversation, we were made aware that the decommissioning bonds are in place for the Felton Hill Road projects, but what they had sent over for their estimate on the decommissioning bond, we were asked to take a look at the value, and we think that it's very low. Essentially, what they're doing is their base numbers for the total amount of decommissioning is actually lower than what NYSERDA recommends, and NYSERDA has had the same exact number. Earliest that we could find was 2017. And it hasn't been escalated for inflation or anything like that over the years. So if you look today, NYSERDA is still publishing the same exact decommissioning value as what they did in 2017. Obviously, we know inflation has skyrocketed in the meantime, and so what their costs were back then are nowhere near what they are now. So the other thing that they're doing is they're taking into account the salvage value, the solar panels, the steel, copper wiring, all that stuff, and using that as an offset for the overall decommissioning value. Now, that's a practice that the Cataraqui County legislature has recommended against. Actually, it might be the IEA. They want you to take the raw salvage value, or sorry, the raw decommissioning value, and that's what the bond should be based on.
Yeah, now I think what they think they can make off of their own.
Exactly. So, looking at the information that they provided, we did some research and we've done, a few other towns, for the decommissioning values. And there are a couple different entities, across the country that have essentially published decommissioning value numbers. One is the National Renewable Energy Laboratory, NREL, and, they published their report in 2020. And what they did was they actually contacted a local company, this is out of California way, that does decommission. And so they actually use their values, what it costs today. And the estimate there is $368,000 per megawatt, and that's $2020. Now, there was another report that we found, the Electric Power Research Institute. Now, in their value was published back in 2017. That estimated $83,000 per megawatt. So as you can see, there's some pretty differing values here, but NYSERDA's current numbers here, I think it's more like $28,000 per megawatt. So vastly under even what the lowest.
How many megawatts we talking?
Per megawatt.
Yeah.
For this project would be 2 megawatts. Felton Hill.
Yeah, how about that?
Felton had a 5.66 and then a 2.2 megawatt between the east and the west.
27 per megawatt, you said?
Yeah, that's what NYSERDA had, was about 27. So looking at that information, the value that was actually published by RIC, if I could find it here. They had 27,951 per megawatt, so slightly lower than what NYSERDA's numbers were. I think I reported the wrong number. It was 31,000 per megawatt is NYSERDA. So even if you take NYSERDA's number and you roll that forward to current standard by inflation, and this is going off of the CPI value per megawatt, it should be around $38,720. per megawatt acre, or sorry, per megawatt AC power. So essentially, the decommissioning value that was reported seems low. And what we would recommend is, at minimum, taking those numbers from NYSERDA, rolling them forward for the inflation. And then, they also estimate a 35-year lifespan in their decommissioning, bond. So if you roll that forward at a decent inflation rate, say 4.9% was what we used, that would be a value of $413,150, rather than the $60,000 that's currently proposed. So what we would recommend for the town is that you at least start out there, but again, that's only rolling forward NYSERDA's numbers. So, I think it would be hard to get a lot more on the decommissioning bond than what that value is. But, even if you took that middle ground, the,
Usually 83,000.
yeah, and you roll that forward to 2020 or 2024 dollars. For this particular project, that would be a present value of 212,000. At 4.9% inflationary over 35 years, that would be a bond value of 1.1 million. So really, as soon as you start to factor in the inflation and you start to factor in the time frame for which these solar farms are proposed to be good for before decommissioning, those values can increase substantially. And our only concern looking at these is if everything goes belly up and the town ends up being one who's stuck with the bill for decommissioning, you want to make sure there's enough money in the bond. Because that's ultimately what you're going to be pulling in order to do the funding, or you're going to have to find budget to do it within taxpayer money.
So once we set this, we have to reset it from what it is now, right?
Yeah.
So we can reset it back, and you're looking to reset it at 83.
Yeah, well, that would be the higher number. Essentially, there's two values that you should probably be considering, whether you want to go back to them saying we want a bond for the 413,000, or we want a bond for the 1.1 million.
Right.
It is somewhat of a negotiation at this stage, and so you've got to determine what you feel comfortable with. Now, we weren't able to talk this through with Joel because he's on vacation, I believe until the end of next week, right? Yeah, so, I know that they're kind of pushing to be able to get into the next steps, to do their building, permit and everything, but town really should be trying to make sure that you're protected in all this, and so I think you have a good stance for negotiation, and, but I think it's important to make sure you've got enough money there for the actual decommission. The other thing you have to take into account is if the town gets, responsible for it, that's all prevailing wage rate. Right now, if it's private entities, they don't have prevailing wage rate requirements, but you would.
Thank you. So where are we with this thing now? We have to run this by Joel first before we go back to them to negotiate?
I think it would be a good idea to at least run the numbers by Joel, but essentially if the town board wanted to discuss it and make a motion, and decide on a value to start out with Joel, so that you can start this negotiation. I just think that the value you have before you right now is unrealistically low. Essentially, their estimate to remove the posts, they're driving steel items in for the sports. To remove a post, they have $2.50 per post. That's less than what a large candy bar is in a convenience store. There's no way you're removing a post for that little money.
No, I agree. I don't, and bonds aren't gonna cost them that much more money anyway. All right, so who's gonna talk to Joe? We are?
We could set up another conference call. We did, Bob and I did have one conference call with him before.
Okay.
And essentially where we left it is we wanted to talk to the board to see what the board felt was a realistic number to go back to, and then start the negotiation based on that.
We'll make sure the town's covered, so
Okay.
413 sounds fine to me.
So
we should make a motion tonight then to do that? Is that what you're looking for?
That's up to you guys.
It's 413 is kind of a low number from what you're recommending, isn't it?
That would be the lower of the two.
Well, we were higher.
That would be the
1.1.
1.1.
What?
No, let's
It
ask.
should always come down, you never can go up.
Right. But at 38.5 times what they have would have been 413 is what you figured to begin with, so. 1.1, again, these bonds aren't gonna be that expensive.
No, I think the typical bond is about 1% of the
Yeah.
base value. per
Yeah, I
year.
mean, it's not a big deal. So yeah, let's ask for all of it.
Right.
We need to make, discuss that with Joe, we need to make a motion.
Right, so we need to make a motion for 1.1 million in a decommissioning
For ours.
and. Okay, no.
Yeah, I'll second. No, Nick seconded, he beat me to that.
Roll call,
No, all in favor.
all in favor, opposed?
Thanks, Barry.
One other thing, just real quick, the interconnection between the Yorkshire Water Sewer District and the Lime Lake Force Main went successfully today without any hiccups. So right now, the tie-in between the two systems is there with the valve closed on the Yorkshire side, because obviously they're not ready to start sending sewage yet. But we did get the interconnection done before the big Memorial Day weekend, and flow is really increasing around the lake, so I'm glad that went successfully
When
today.
do we get paid?
I think you're already set up to get paid annually, hasn't it been in effect?
We haven't gotten it yet, it hasn't come through yet, so.
No,
This
it's
year,
probably-
actually, they did probably this year.
I think it would be, they should have started this year,
Yeah.
whatever the IMA said.
Okay.
I'm not sure, was that something that the town was going to bill Yorkshire for every year?
I'll have to
or-
look it up.
Okay,
Could we check it?
Was it there?
any other questions about solar, water, sewer? Okay, well, thank you very much for your time, guys.
Thank you.
One quick question.
Yeah.
You talked about the other project. Was it the consensus that it's too late to move any of those bond numbers at this point? You being that they're,
That's something we'll have to talk to Joel about, but I believe once a decommissioning bond is in place, until it's renegotiated again, there's not really a whole lot you can do. We weren't really involved in the decommissioning bond for the Dalton Hill Road project. It was a little bit surprising when I found out that the decommissioning bond was in place. All I knew was that we had a decommissioning plan, and we had said that the values seemed low, and they were only using a 2.5% inflation rate. But the current bonds, when you back calculate that, it looks like the only thing that changed from the values they originally submitted were that they used an inflation rate of 4.9 instead of 2.5. So that at least did protect the town a little bit more, about 1.5 times the overall bond value that ended up getting factored in. But that base value still ended up being the same, and so it wasn't as big of a decommissioning bond as I would hope for. Okay, mate.
Right.
thanks, sir. Thank you. Would like to speak next?
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
We're back here, because we were here at the March, board meeting. And we're back because we did not get any answers from our questions that we had asked of Tim Byros and Scott. And then I approached Scott and asked those questions, and we basically got a letter of takedown, and basically that we were not able to put the board up there. So we have hired an attorney, and our attorney went back and forth and was not able to accomplish the goal with Scott either. So he asked us to come back here to speak to you in regards to this, to see if you guys are willing to give us the answers that were promised of us at the last board meeting in March. We had missed them. We had come to talk at the last board meeting, but we had missed the day because we thought it was on Tuesday. So we were looking for the right of way of 25 feet, because that's assumed based on our survey and based on all the information she has from her law books that stated. And we are within our means of being able to put the barn up on that property.
Where it is now?
No, moving it forward towards the road. We're basically well off the skirt of it, further than a lot of the cottages on Cotter Road. Most of them are closer than we're gonna be. And we're being restricted from building that.
Yeah.
On our property, after we went through every single channel.
The building's up, but you're not building.
I requested a building permit the week before our contractor was gonna start.
The night before.
No, Scott,
The
I'm not arguing.
The night
I
before.
requested it, I called Scott a week, when our contractor contacted us, I contacted Scott. He said he was gonna be in here the day that I met with him. He was well informed of the fact that we were starting the next day, and I was concerned about it, because I didn't mention it.
I'm gonna give you one anyway, building the railroad property and on the property, so you
No.
wouldn't have got a permit.
No, none of that happened. This is, you're talking past tense, right?
Yeah,
When we met with Scott, when I met with him, he said there was an issue with Tim Byroads and us. And I said, yeah, I already cleared that up because it was with the Army Corps. And Tim told us we had to go through the Army Corps to make sure that we were able to build on that property. I went through all of it with the Army Corps engineers. I had it in writing. I handed Scott all that stuff. And he said, okay, I'll meet you out there tomorrow morning. I'll look everything over, and if everything's good, everything should be
so
fine.
I wanted a permit to put it where it's right now.
Yes.
Whatever you built it.
But we were not, at the time, we got false information from BP Railroad, which does not own the railroad. So when we got false information, we were informed by Scott that we were on the railroad property.
Cause they told you could build on a railroad property?
No, we never had intentions of building on railroad property. We thought we were within our means because BP Railroad gave us false information. They don't own it, it's Norfolk. So when we got through the survey and talking to Norfolk Railroad told us we can build, we have to move it off their property and make sure our overhangs are off their property. So we already cleared up all our issues with the railroad, and we're trying to move this, but now there's an issue with the right of way, saying it's 25 feet and it's not, we're not able to build there. And that's not true. It's assumed right away, and that's what we've been asking for.
I have Tim's report for tonight, and he mentioned this in his report. As far as the right of way on Lake Street, we do have a dedicated right of way with the county. It's 24.9 or 24 feet 9 inches from the center of the road. It is documented. I now have a copy of that, and Scott has a copy of that. We just got it. He was with the county last week and got that information. And he said, even if we didn't have the right of way, it would fall under prescriptive right of way law, which means we maintain anything we maintain from mowing, which he does back slope to back slope, not just the drive lanes, is considered his right of way, and he controls that. So he says, no, he does have it enforced right away.
Yeah, it's what but he's assuming it's the right of way.
I have proof from the county. I have the map and the book that says logistically written
I'll
out.
give it to our attorney to look it over.
I would suggest then you fill out
In the meantime,
I will. I'll make
if there is this 25 foot, we were asking for 4 feet of it, just to be able to accomplish our goal.
But you can't do that.
No,
If we don't.
Why didn't you ask for a variance from the town? Since.
You? I'd love to. I don't know him, and I don't give him one. Or I don't give that young lady.
It's opening
there.
Pandora's box and then.
Yeah,
we can't
It,
close.
it can't do that.
So we're supposed to shrink the burn down by 4 feet.
Well, don't you have property farther down that you could build it, that you wouldn't have to worry about the right of way?
No, that property's not even ready to be built on. We.
But you do have property farther down the road that you
But it
could
doesn't
build it.
matter where we build our home. So if we get straight.
Well, if you're in the right of way, you
But
can.
that's-
We can still build, is that
Yeah.
correct? Is that what you told us?
As long as the right of way is still there for the.
And it's like, okay, all I'm asking, if we shrink it down and it fits on our property, we can build it.
I provided in writing.
Does it matter? I don't.
Well, if you let me
If it
finish,
fits.
if you let me finish, I said,
You've been trying to finish for a long time with you.
you done?
Are you?
We might be.
Pretty much it, I was done. But I sent you guys an email, I don't know, a month or so ago, basically giving you the parameters of what you could build based on a survey, having the barn staked out, being out of the town right away and 5 foot off the railroad property.
It doesn't have to. That's what you're assuming.
Well-
That's not what we got from the railroad. The railroad says as long as it's off their property, they don't have an issue. You're pushing a fight away.
The railroad
You're
says I have
pushing
no
it.
right over.
We're not, the railroad is not pushing it. You're.
I've got a full set of documentation. All I'm going to do for the record is repeat. I will not issue a building permit for the current structure.
So if we strike it down, then we're fine,
If
right?
it fits within the parameters that I sent you, then we'll look at it.
As long as it's off the railroad property, and fit at 25 foot.
I'm not going to argue the point with you.
There you go. That's all we need to hear from you. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
So I guess we have to solve. No, that's because it's a joke.
Our attorney said, all of you guys are part of this, just so you know. I mean, it's not something that we want to do. It's not something that we want to press. But if everybody wants to back what's going on here.
Can I just say something before you leave?
Because I've been the face of this whole thing.
Yeah.
And my husband did not talk once. He got aggressive with me, upset with me, just for me asking a question of him. It's not how you handle.
All right, well, it got off on the wrong foot from day one.
How did it get-
Because he told you the day that you were gonna start to build, don't build it. But you decided to you decided to build it no matter what.
Those words did not come out of his mouth. You could talk to my husband, myself, and our contractor.
On our contract, it says you can start building. Why would we start building?
He asked our contractor, what are we gonna get done today?
What do we get
So
done?
there's,
So
I got accused of
You should have
telling
had
me
the
he's lying. He's not telling me he's lying.
he was going to issue the permit, then all of a sudden he came back later on in the evening and says, I can't issue it. Frank."
Yeah, but you built it though. I mean, you don't even put a stick in the ground.
We got the okay from your code man that said it's okay to start building. He told our contractor, you can start building. How far are you gonna get today? Where are you
If
gonna
you
get
started
today?
construction and I found out something, how would you handle it? You would be doing the same
Exactly,
thing.
there you go.
Right?
Oh, I
Trying
understand
to
it.
resolve the situation. And no, I'm not calling him a liar, but he must not remember his conversations with myself and our contractor, and my husband, all three of us. You don't hear things, three people hear the same thing, I don't think that's true. That I'm lying about something, and neither is my husband. So-
Can I just say one thing before you guys go? This situation, the conversation that we had about shrinking it a little bit and that being good to go and everybody's happy, I would like to have us all on the same lane again, so everybody can see it, hear it.
I've been approaching him, asking
You know,
him. This has been too long.
This has been a joke.
We've been asking, can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? Can we do this? It's like every single thing we ask, we're being restricted on.
You put it right.
Absolutely.
Pull up right.
Because
Remove the
he's
building.
limiting our
You're
size.
squatting on somebody's property. You have a building on somebody else's.
Take the railroad out of this because it's not an issue between us and the railroad. That's between us and them and they.
Okay.
Well, the building inspector is not gonna give you something if it's on someone else's
I
property.
can't give you a building permit.
I don't care what.
Off, you said you're gonna move it off there, but you got.
And that's not an issue.
It was hard to get on the property to begin with.
Because when we acquired, we asked BP Railroad how far off the center of the thing. They told us 15 feet, but
Okay.
it's not them that own it. We found out through Scott that they didn't own it because I went through.
Why would I have investigated that if I told you to go ahead and build?
Investigate, you didn't. You found that on hindsight. You found
I
out-
investigated it because I told you, stop building. This is going to be controversial. Were my exact words? Yes, I told you to stop building.
Yeah, I'm not denying any of that stuff. I'm just saying.
That's good.
We did not have approved it because you wouldn't give it to me. You told me to
Exactly.
come out and check everything.
All right, wait.
Why would you give me okay for our contractor to start
I
building?
didn't. When I arrived there at 7:30 in the morning, the posts were already.
Oh, I was on 17 before the posts are not even.
You
thought
tell
about
me,
it.
I have a
Don't
job.
even say that.
I hear everything.
You know,
It's 7:30 in the morning, the posts are right now, they were not, Scott, you know it.
absolutely were.
You're right, they weren't. Absolutely.
They were.
They were not.
It's.
They were not.
Let me ask you a question, hold up. So, if they take their building and they're off our right of way, and they're off the railroad property, whatever that size building is, they can get a permit.
Sure. The problem isn't the pole barn. A third of the town business is building pole barns. The problem is they built the thing illegally without a permit and put it on somebody else's property. And you refuse to move it off the property. That's the whole issue.
Pay for engineers, pay for
I
surveyors.
can't help what you had to pay for.
Pay for Tim Byrold's thing in there to tell him that 1 in 100 storms, we're not flooding out Potter Road. The guy came out and did another evaluation of that, just prove.
Yeah, but that part isn't an issue right
Well,
now. The issue right now is to get,
I did address the issue.
but the issue right now is to get a building permit that's gonna fit on that piece of property.
Yes, I
That's
asked.
the issue. So let's work towards that issue. Forget all the other stuff that happened. It's over. So let's try to get that resolved.
That's what we've been doing.
So when can we expect that you're gonna take the structure off railroad property?
When we move it. Why
We
would
gotta
he
get our
say
contractor
to
out.
move it? He said, I can't get out to by the 15th. So what am I supposed to do?
That's before they do that anyway.
Well, he's not gonna move it. He's
You're gonna need a survey with the corners of the building staked so that it's clearly known by a licensed professional surveyor where the property's
Well,
going
they
to
got
be.
one.
It's not staked.
Look in there, our surveyor blew it up for me, and she also said that she was gonna send you the thing, but you never got it.
Well, we need a new one now, because it has to be on the property, not on railroad property.
It's
The corners of the building.
0.5.
The corners of the building need to be staked.
That's what's.
And the letter I sent,
Can you do that? Do that. Get that done, make sure you're on your property, get a copy, show the stakes on the survey where you're at, and let's get this resolved.
So we have to have the surveyor, the survey's not good enough? I
Oh,
have
you
the surveyor come up
Wait
and
a minute,
say,
here, where are you?
I blew it
Oh,
up.
come here and show me what you got.
I can actually send it over.
Okay, okay.
But no, here's the original. That's the original. She added it on there, but Scott couldn't see it, so she did this one and so that he could see it better.
Well, I got worse eyes than him. Okay. So, but here's the survey. Where are we? Okay.
And then there's it blown up, and I can
All
send
right,
it.
and this is now, this is off the right of way, correct?
Mhm.
And this is off the railroad.
Mhm.
And what's left in the size? What is this?
It's, that while if we're gonna be downsizing it even more, I don't know, I have to
What,
have her downsize it more.
well, can you get that information?
Yeah.
All right, so you can't get the permit, you're gonna say it's gotta be 20 foot, like, you know what I mean?
Mhm.
We got another size.
Mhm.
Get that. And I don't see if there would be any other problem. We're off the railroad, we're off the right of way, whatever's left.
so the railroad has indicated two different things, 10 foot off of property line.
That's BP.
They've indicated 5 foot off the property line.
What you missed.
Then they've indicated that as long as there's nothing on railroad, they don't have an issue with it.
It's BP railroad that's,
Norfolk,
you know,
so this
from
is-
Norfolk,
this is-
Southern. Yeah,
Yeah,
here's
BP
here's the
was-
message from, I asked her to be very clear with me, and this is for the girl from Norfolk, and she just said she cannot tell us what to do on our property, just needs to be.
Well, can she tell you how much you're gonna be off their property?
Doesn't
You get that in writing from Brooke? Oh,
Yes. I already have, it's another email that he got too.
yeah.
It says,
That's-
it says the
You said
overhang,
5 feet.
overhang's
No,
parallel. It says overhang's parallel.
The first one was 10 feet, 5 feet.
That
And
was
then
the-
there's kind of a general statement that they can't control what goes on in the property, but they're basically looking to have that building placed so that if they have to maintain it, cut behind it or whatever, that they don't access railroad property to do it, which includes constructing the building. And there's no way you're gonna do that 1 foot off the property. Just not.
And I already talked to them, I told them we'd still be, there's no maintenance, and then right here,
What
she
you got?
she
What you got?
She put that we're gonna be responsible for it. And I told her, if there's anything that happens, we will be responsible for it, the drainage. That's their only concern.
Okay.
It's not gonna be an issue because we don't want drainage sitting around. our
Get back to
home.
us at the size of the
Okay.
site.
Yep, I can. Thank you.
All right.
And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Hello.
I'm gonna get you I'm gonna get you a cake that says code.
Go back.
Hey, you try to, we got rules we have to follow too. We gotta be careful. Cannot just.
I mean, right from the beginning, they want.
Well,
Well, the last email, the railroad has instructed them to follow my lead and get the building off their property.
Right.
So
And again,
I'm going to issue them an appearance ticket.
Again, you are risking, if you let them build right to their property line, that sets a precedent for
Well, yeah.
everybody else that wants to build.
Well, I can
to
see
their-
that.
There
It's
need to
only
be
about the
setbacks.
budget.
There need to be some
You
sort of
can't favor
setbacks.
one person in the community and not somebody else. All right, anyway, that was it. Let's go on.
It's amazing.
Everything else has gotta be easier tonight. okay?
Now that's, everything should be a piece of cake. No.
I had a long day in my day truck.
For a communications tower. We've submitted all of the pertinent information, the FCC approval, landowners, agreement to put us on their property. We heard back saying that the tower can't go there, because it's not far enough away from the properties. But there's really nothing, when we first investigated this, I had written to the town clerk and responded, say, we can put our tower any place because there weren't any zoning restrictions as far as where the tower could be placed. So we have determined with the landowner the best place to put it. FM, you're looking for height as much as anything. FM is all line of sight. And so it's pretty much at the top of their property. It is 120 feet away from neighboring properties. The tower itself is a self-supporting tower, 199 foot. Those towers are designed not to fall over, but collapse. And so it's the ideal situation on the property. We also have FCC approval for that particular site. To move it would mean we have to go back to the Federal Communications Commission and start the whole process over again. So we'd like to get started on this.
You know anything about this?
Yeah, I reviewed the drawings. It's a 200-foot tower, 120 foot from the road and 120 foot from the property line. Yes, they can collapse on themselves, but they've also been known to fall straight over. So with an abundance of caution, I recommended a fall radius, a reasonable fall radius. The drawings that were submitted are not stamped by a New York State professional engineer. That's required. There was kind of scant information with respect to dimensions and foundation structure, that kind of thing. So
Is he talking the right stuff?
We have stamped drawings. Yes.
New York State professional engineer?
Yes.
Okay, I'll take a look at it.
Yeah.
The only thing that you'd have to clear up is where it's gonna go on the property.
Question is, can the town say you can't put it there, even though you don't have any zoning laws to say where it can go?
Well, the building inspector can, because I,
Right, because you're a station issue, not a zoning issue.
Minority.
I'm not doing it to be punitive. I mean, it's kind of like a common sense thing. You got a 200-foot tower that has the potential of falling over the road, and you're 120 foot from the road,
Okay.
and 120 foot from somebody else's land.
Okay, so if we were 199, you're requesting 150%, which I'm not sure I understand that. You're asking for 300 feet away, which makes it even more difficult.
The 150% of tower height was a suggestion. If you remember the letter I sent back to you, a reasonable fall radius, 125% might be reasonable in that realm. But that is a common design criteria for radio towers, cell towers.
I will say this, that we have built about 20 towers in different towns. The overwhelming majority, if there is a setback, it's 100%. So it doesn't land properly.
Is there anything in your code that says that how far it's gotta be back? Or we just,
So that, our building,
is there anything written that says what the setback has to be?
I think you have to use the state code.
Is there anything written? No, it's a common sense thing. It's a safety parameter. No,
You can't make up rules as you go
well,
along.
I'm not making up rules.
It's,
You have to use discretion in common sense. Common sense would tell you you're not gonna put a 200-foot tower 120 foot from the road. If there's a problem, even if it collapses partially on itself, what's to say that it doesn't land on a car? Just that happenstance. You read about it every now and then, you know, somebody driving down the road, a tree limb cracks off a tree, brushes the car and kills the people in it. It actually happened down the road from where I used to live.
Tree.
I mean, we have towns that we built towers in. There's no zoning, and we can be right on the line, because there is no zoning. There is no zoning in this town. All of the neighbors have either signed a thing here saying they have no problem with the radio tower being tapped, or else they have verbally said that they're okay with it. So the neighbors don't have any issues with it. And I'm having a hard time understanding no zoning requirements. The town of Cornellsville, where we just met with, we're putting up we're actually putting up a 250-foot tower there. They have no zoning. They say it doesn't make any difference how close you are to the property line. So if we're gonna use the argument of common sense, it's not common sense across the board as far as different towns are concerned. We've never had an issue with a town that has no zoning that doesn't allow us. I mean, common sense is we're not gonna put it right next to the road. But we're trying to find the ideal situation, both for the landowner and as far as where the tower goes, as far as the height, as far as keeping costs to the minimum. If you gotta build a road back there, you gotta run electric back there. The further you go, the more cost it is.
I mean, I see Scott's safety issue. Safety comes in before zoning anyway, I think. If it's a safety issue, it should be a safety issue. Yes, you're right, we don't have zoning, but yet we're not looking to have our residents hurt. Or people on the road. Trying to foresee that also.
Right. I can tell you this, the tower where we have put it is not within falling distance of any residence, homes or buildings, or what have you. It would fall in wooded territory if it fell completely.
You agree with that, Scott?
Unless it falls towards the road.
So the road is closer than 125 feet.
The concept of the project, I have no issue with. I met the landowner, great guy, nice fellow, we had a great conversation. I didn't have any particular issue with it. My only concern was plans gotta be stamped by New York State licensed professional engineer. Some detail added as far as the foundation and the concrete and the structure there was little to no information. And then the safety issue. It's not a insurmountable task. But honestly, if you say you already got them,
Scott, would you be okay with 100%?
I'll leave that up to the town board. My concerns were a reasonable fall radius. If the town board feels that that's a reasonable fall radius,
If the tower were to fall completely over, which it won't, but if it were, and we were 190 feet away from the road, so it wouldn't hit the road, I guess my question is, why would we need to be further than 100? If the neighbors were closer than 199 feet, but it doesn't hit anything, it's not even close to hitting a building or a residence or what have you, it would fall in wooded land. If we put the tower.
Within 200 feet, there's no other houses, building
No.
structures.
No.
You're okay.
you guys think it's okay, huh?
As long as it's 100, at least that can't hit the road.
If it were to collapse, who's liable for that? You guys?
What happens if you guys go out of business?
We've been in business for 57 years. I don't see us having to go.
So it'd be your liability if something comes out.
We've had 0 towers in 40 years of broadcast. All over or anything. We build them, but they don't. Those guys.
We all plan something. Should always happen. So
Well, it hasn't happened to us yet. But what we're trying to do also is for the landowner not to take any of his farmland. So we can keep it close to a hedge. Then it stays away from where they plow or, mow or whatever it is. And so that's, every landowner we deal with, we try and accommodate them as much as possible. You have to be this 150%, which is what Scott originally told us, we're right out in the middle of the field. And that's a nuisance.
Where is it located?
Huggy Hill Road.
So when you guys put up a tower, you actually, purpose to talk to the neighboring properties too and see if they're okay with it, that's what you said?
Typically, a lot of the towns will contact if there are zoning issues, okay, within so many feet of the land. When Brian is more around, he has contacted all of them. So, got a document of them signing it, saying basically, we don't have any issue with this, or verbally. It's not a lit tower. Once it goes up, we visit it a couple of times a year just for maintenance purposes. So it's not gonna make noise, it's not a windmill with moving parts, this has an antenna on it, transmitter building, and it shoots out a signal.
So just because we've had a tornado here many years ago, not too many years ago. Took the barn down, took my woods down. So if it gets damaged, you're responsible for the cleanup. Is that correct?
We want to get
The
back.
homeowner?
We have insurance for that.
Oh, okay.
And I can tell you, if towers that are just exactly like the one built, when the buildings in Florida where they're more prone to get hurricanes, tornadoes, those kind of things, they typically will fold over in the middle. And so, and
So
that's,
it's not from the base down.
no, I have never seen one go from the base down. I've never seen it, never seen pictures of it, never heard of it. That usually the weakest structural number is about halfway up, so it kind of folds in half in the middle and comes right back on itself. There it hangs.
So we're not opening Pandora's box, if we okay this, similar to the other issue that we just talked about. This is something different that we're not gonna talk, that, if we give them the okay for that, that's
Different, you're talking zoning and some
Yeah,
things?
yeah.
As I mentioned, I have no particular issue. When I wrote back to Rick, I basically suggested, and I believe my exact writing was a reasonable fall radius, and I suggested 150%. That's actually, Rick, why I asked you to come in here and discuss it with the town board.
Right.
Just so that they had an understanding of what it is, that you've talked to the residents. So if people are happy with 100%, I brought it up as a safety
you buy-
out of abundance of
Can
caution.
you by any means get to 125 and just make everybody happy, make me happy, make him happy?
No,
Can't do it?
not 125. Okay, here is where the tower is supposed to be built. Okay, this is a 200-foot radius here.
Okay.
Okay, all right. No building over here close to it's gonna fall here. Yes, it
Oh, I
got
see the
over there.
problem. So you can only come over here so far.
Right, right. Now, if we were to move it so that it was further away, I mean, this is still a 200-foot radius here, and you're still there.
You're still on the road.
You're still in the road, but now you're in the middle, 300, this is a 300-foot, which would be 150% of that. And so, but you're right smack in the middle of the farmland there.
Yeah, well, why couldn't you, you're getting too close to the south, aren't you? So you could only get to here. You still can't get off the road though.
You can't,
Not with,
you're also losing elevation,
oh, okay.
and elevation is.
Yeah, yeah, no, I can't see it. So how could you get to 100%? Where are you gonna go?
Well, again, you'd have to be somewhere in the middle of farmland. We're trying to get as close to this hedgerow as possible here.
Yeah, but this isn't gonna give us 100 either.
No, you'd have to be way out here, and now
And
you've
you gotta
lost,
be careful here.
50 or 60 feet in elevation.
So how are you gonna get to, you can't get to 100%. Can you?
This is 120 feet from here. If it falls over, like John is saying, John's the engineer who's built zillions of towers in his lifetime. If it falls over halfway, that's 100 feet.
Yeah, but if it falls over all the way,
Which,
you're gonna hit,
again, it doesn't happen.
well,
It doesn't.
If you can find one, any place on the internet that is falling over from the base, I'll agree with you. I've never seen.
And again, it's not a guide,
No.
it's a self-supporting tower, which the base of that, the amount of concrete that we put in the base, so that it doesn't pull out, fall over. Yeah. It's,
I mean, 100%, you almost had us talked into it, but I don't see you doing it.
not without going in the middle of the field.
Does he farm his property now?
Yes,
You farm it now?
Yes.
What do you have on it?
Hey.
Hay?
Yeah.
Oh, I was in a hayfield today with 5 telephone poles and everything. I got a hard time cutting their hay, go right around. So
Well,
why would the tower be?
well, telephone pole, we have.
And they're strung out, we got wires. No, you don't have wires, but we do. You're saying it's gonna ruin his property there. There's poles in everybody's corn. And
Well, that's
everybody's-
just one of the things. The other thing is if we lose 50 or 60 feet in elevation.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
And to get to where even this is gonna be 100% away, we're losing 50 to 60 feet in elevation. That becomes a problem. Because now you gotta try to put more, the reason we stick with 190-foot tower is because when you go to 200 foot, you have to have it lit. And most people don't like lit towers around, strobe lighting. So 199 foot, you don't have to have it lit. You don't have to have it.
So when it's on the hedgerow, like the first one you got over there, how far is that from the road there?
100, approximately 120 feet.
And what did you want? 150 you want?
That was an initial recommendation, something reasonable.
Yep.
Obviously, you don't want
Even
a
if it's
200 foot
100,
tower falling in the
So
street.
that's, he's saying that's 120.
120 feet.
Not 120%.
no, even if you have 100%, you get back up
I'm
here,
all the way over there.
but
But now you're getting closer there.
you get close to that house. So I said, I don't see how you could do it. I don't know, do a little more checking, get a little more information.
Well, who's the licensed professional engineer? Are you the licensed professional engineer, the designer? So has the designer certified that this tower won't collapse at the base?
there's a professional engineer stamp on the drawings and the foundation. That's all I can tell you.
Right, that's required, but an analysis, almost like an automotive engineer, when they design a car, they have to design it with a crumple zone.
Well,
And that's kind of what you described, that the weakest link is halfway up the tower and it'll fall in on itself. So is there a licensed professional engineer that'll verify that this thing will collapse in the center? It won't
well, it
topple
depends
over
on-
at its base?
on different stresses that are put on, but nobody will tell you exactly where a tower is gonna fail. No engineer's gonna tell you that.
I make automotive engineers do it. I was one of them.
Well, this isn't on.
I don't know,
Anyway, that was my reasoning. It's a safety concern.
think we table it and wait, get some more information. Get the,
Are we in agreement just before so they have the information that if they were 100% off the road, that would be good with that?
I'd be okay with it.
And you don't think you can do that? Without losing your elevation or?
We lose elevation, we have to go back to the FCC, which is sometimes 2 months or what have you. What we don't want to, we have to get this station on the air by the first quarter of 2025. We lose the construction. And we've got to get the tower built this summer. You don't build towers You don't pour concrete, it starts to get cold. So every delay is critical at this particular point.
This one,
Never had this one come up.
You have no neighbor that have a problem. You pretty much have a tower that's gonna stink. You never had a fault in the tower. I understand you can say anything can happen.
Yeah.
But the chances of it falling over and hitting the road are minuscule. And the chances of it falling over and hitting the road, and there happens to be somebody driving at that particular point, are very, very small.
Yeah. That's always my odds.
but if that were to happen, are you liable for that?
We would be liable for anything with regards to the job, yes.
Whatever damage it causes in this injury?
Yep, that's why we have insurance.
So is the town of Machias officially insured?
I think I sent that to you.
I don't recall.
Part of the
It's
package,
possible.
yeah. We always insure, the, well, we always insure the property. And it's very easy to insure.
Maybe a quick call with the town attorney to see what an appropriate insurance level is. I don't.
Our insurance is equal.
I'd be okay if everything was insured. And if the neighbors aren't complaining.
Again, in speaking with Brian, there's no moving parts.
Yeah, oh, no,
They have a different feeling if it was a windmill or
Right.
something
Well, we
like
don't
that.
have- wouldn't be having a window, so.
I did talk to all the neighbors personally.
Mhm.
Either one of them by the phone, the other ones were personal contacts. And they don't have an issue at all. There's no strobe light, there's no windmill, there's no moving parts.
Right.
They have all the criteria, and they don't have the issue where it's going, to explain where it's going in the field.
Well, then I would say that we let Josh take, or Joel take a look at the insurance part of it, and if he thinks that we get, that they're insured enough, they're covered, I'm okay with it. But I think we need to run it by, would you be all right till we run it by our attorney?
Like vacation for what, a week, for a week?
Yeah, I think he's on vacation for, we won't hold you up for months, but.
Thank you.
All right, let us run it by Joel,
Appreciate it.
and then we'll get back to you.
Okay, great.
Okay?
Yeah, you can keep it if you want.
No,
Okay,
well, we might want to show Joel,
So
so
we
we can
can
leave the one that we're looking at.
this one right here.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay,
Good.
thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thanks.
Next. Everybody else is happy? No, no.
There wasn't any screaming, so it was a pleasure. Thank you.
But you understand, we just want to make sure we're covered, our residents are covered, that's our biggest thing.
I mean, let me tell you, so we were building a tower, all this is probably like, maybe one. In the town of Brandon. We,
On their,
we had to go 11 months in a row. They had no zoning restriction on this tower. No, they had 4 civil towers in the town. When we applied, they decided to put a moratorium on the tower. But since we had applied ahead of time, we had to get through.
Right.
that would even.
They went 11 months in a row because there was two guys in that board. I don't understand. The one guy says, well, we have a natural thing, a propane gas company right next door. And this was a 300-foot tower. We were 800 feet from the property. This business,
They gotta get.
another 1,000 feet away. Anyway, I still have an issue with that. We drove one time, it was a snowstorm, it took us 3.5 hours to get there. We pulled in half an hour later on the meeting. Walked in and the guy goes, the supervisor says, oh, that's his family. But I think we'll wait a little bit.
Oh,
yes, we just drove 3 hours.
All right,
Okay.
Thank you.
look at that. Thank you.
When you didn't ask for a poll.
I'm just curious, have you gotten a lot of responses on your surveys?
Let's see,
Never even so far, this is a while back, but we had 36 spots. About 15 of them town people, 18 of them from lake properties, and the rest for the outskirts of the town. Basically, one of the questions, is, how far do you drive to work? About, actually, people drive more than 25 miles a day to work, to get to work. The pluses is people like a small town, they like the lake property. Overwhelming bad thing was taxes, and run down property. Protecting the farms is a major plus. We wanted the farms protected. And things they didn't want is they didn't want a smoke shop. They did not want adult entertainment. However, there was a lot of majority wanted the liquor store. Really? So far, now this is the preliminary.
Liquor is necessary.
That's why you got the Legion.
You can't buy a bottle or two.
A lot of them wanted to see, more residential development. Scott was there at the meeting and he was a big bonus to have him there, I'll tell you. We learned a lot out of that, I thought, I was really impressed.
Say it again.
Why did those people, why'd you go first?
One thing that was discussed was a moratorium on any large affordable housing developments for 6 months. That was discussed and overwhelmingly, we thought that might be a good idea at this point. That was the only thing that was involved as far as a moratorium proposal. Correct?
Yes.
What do you want to do, have a moratorium?
On any large development of housing at this point.
If I'm not mistaken, we cannot do that yet.
That-
We have a moratorium on any,
Right.
period.
That's what our attorney told us, so we're not gonna go against.
Not that anybody's gonna want to come in here and build a multi-family unit.
Well, the other is, if they're gonna build a large unit like that, you've gotta have public sewer. And you gotta have water.
Right.
Where are you gonna put
It's not
it?
gonna happen.
Right.
You're not gonna have. it be
The
a
problem with building with on this septic system, you can't do it. I mean, you can't afford to do it.
Well,
Plus we'll sick Scott out of them. We'll be all
look at the fines and the problems they had before we got.
Exactly. The code man.
right. But we cannot have
Mhm.
even though that does make some sense. Again, stop it, so.
So, your question, are you worried about what kind of zoning that we're looking at to put zoning in here? Is that what you're worried about? We're not looking to be Amherst, but we're looking to be Machias cleaned up. That's what that's our objective.
And we have a dump down the road, we have a gravel pit behind us, we got trailers that are trashed down the road.
Yeah, that's what we'd like to.
That's what we're looking for.
There you go.
That's
That's exactly
going
the
in the
issue.
house.
That's exactly.
That's what we're trying, because Scott doesn't have anything to do with that now. The only way we can do it now is through a health issue. Say if it's unsafe to live in, unsafe conditions for people to be in, when we can get the health department, am I right, involved, that's about the only way we can do it. So there's property maintenance issues, but
Who's dealing with the mess?
yeah,
Property owner.
It's an eyesore. and
Yeah, it's supposed to be the property owner. No, they don't.
So why don't they come around or why can't we clean it up for them and give them
Thank
a
you.
$1 million bill?
Well, we can get into that when we talk to Scott for a second. There's other issues that unfortunately we don't have the power.
I mean, right now, the courts don't do anything either. You can't,
But in answer to what you guys, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
Yeah, we want to get that. Nobody wants to live next to that or down.
yeah, we're not looking to tell you that you can't have a gutter, you can't have this, you can't have that. That's not what we're looking for. We're looking to give him some teeth to clean some of this crap up. And that's what we gotta do.
And not allow another trailer. We could throw it. We could throw a trailer in anywhere.
Do we have a dump day for the town?
No.
No.
You have to use the transfer station.
Yeah.
Or private
We don't have
garbage.
a dump.
And the only people honestly that would dump their stuff would be people like you. The people that are hoarders. No, the people, but the
Those are the
people
ones
that,
that don't do it.
the people that hoard their stuff and make a mess, they won't clean up. Wouldn't matter if you could pay them to clean up, they wouldn't clean up. Just out of experience.
And that's what we're looking to eliminate. That's our biggest. Step. Yeah.
If somebody paid for it.
I mean, Scott's got a few of them to kind of clean up. He's working with the junkyard down from you.
You notice the trailers, most of the trailers.
He's trying to get everything behind the fence now. He's trying to take everything from the road edge. Took Scott a while to get them to adhere to it.
This house around the corner, nobody lives in it, it's got broken windows and everything by the post office. Garbage is in the driveway, all the way back, there's critters, there's gotta be a lot of critters. I see a truck pull in, some guy gets out, goes in the house, nobody lives there, it's a drug house. Why can't somebody clean that up?
That's the point here of this planning committee, is to develop some kind of a, parameter here so that we can eliminate that.
It's just getting worse, all summer, it's just gonna get, I think they're putting stuff in the driveway, garbage, they're just bringing stuff.
But I advise people to please.
You know what he's talking stuff.
I do. Property maintenance violation was written on it.
Yeah,
And got
And
it.
only, you can only do what we can do. It's just,
if they did they reply at all?
Dave, I have more surveys in my office for you. Before we leave tonight.
Appreciate it.
So what happens when they don't reply? What's the next step?
The next step is, used to be you bring them into town court, except the bail laws now with your governor.
Can't do anything.
Basically, unless they can't issue a bench warrant unless they've committed 3 felonies.
Well, I'm sure they're in there cooking meth every now and then, because somebody shows up.
It's frustrating. It absolutely is. It's frustrating for me because I'm built old school and somebody gives me a job, I like to do the job. And basically you're sending letters out. We get about 30% compliance, cooperation. Some people are pretty decent, but when you see some of what's going on, it burns my ass. I'll be the first to tell you that. I'll keep writing the letters and I'll keep making contact, but you know, it's like running burning yourself on the stove. Ow, ow,
Yeah, well,
ow.
I'm afraid one of these days, there's so much garbage. No, that's next to other houses.
All right, so.
Next.
Are you done with your report, Dave?
I'm sorry, Dave.
Okay.
That's true, but I heard people calling out.
When is your next meeting?
June 3rd. It's posted on the website.
Monthly supervisors reports been provided. Highway. did you have
Okay, I
any-
have it. Okay. Tim emailed me his report. He was unable to be here tonight. This month, we've been doing road construction on Berry, Tingy, and Hooper Road. They've ground them back to dirt in preparation of new blacktop within the next month or two, depending on the blacktop company schedule. They've also installed a perforated pipe in the ditch on Riceville Road, across from my driveway, right to the bend in the road. He put it across from the top of the driveway. We still have a little further to go back, filled it with stones so the top water can filter down through to the pipe. This was done to hopefully prevent cars from rolling over in the deep ditch like the school bus did the one day. They have moved the Herman's sign in the park and put the American flag behind it by the swings. They're in the process of putting a new flower garden around it and hope to have that completed before Memorial Day. The sign and flag was moved so that there would be room for future park equipment and the possibility of soccer nets to be added. And it also makes it easier for the big tractor to mow that area. Okay. They will start roadside mowing within the next week or so and will be ditching Riceville Road. He's been in touch with Soil and Water from Cat County to work on a possible grant for a salt shed. They're in the preliminary stages right now, gathering all the information they can to submit the application for the grant, and fingers crossed that it will be picked. They were hopeful, soil and water, they didn't have a lot of applications, so they were hopeful that Machias would qualify for that. They talked last year about replacing the parking lot blacktop in and around Town Hall, so my parking area and behind the Quonset hut. He's going to try to schedule that in between the road jobs, and that will have to be covered under the building maintenance, since that's not roads. He'll have an approximate price by next month's meeting. They are also in need of at least one or maybe two garage doors for the highway department, which again will come out of building maintenance, because they are rusted straight through. He'll have that costs next month also. The park department wanted to know about the walking path, and he measured it out from the pool concrete to the road and to the new playground. And it will cost approximately $2,000 for just blacktop, 4 foot wide. Highway would do all the work. And he wanted to thank the youth commission for all the painting that they have done. It looks great. The volleyball net is set to regulation height. And once Pioneer School closes, they have a women's league that would like to use it in the afternoons. And that was his report.
Anything additional from water or sewer?
The water quality report has been released. It is posted outside the building and on the website, and it will be linked, the website address for it will be linked on the water bills, which will be going out, the beginning of next month. Yeah, I don't have anything for sewer. So I think that's it. And then just for mine, since I'm next on that list,
Well, just for the sewer thing that, we did do the count, the EDU count, so that's returned. We did that, so when we do that last week.
yeah. Okay. So for clerk, I have ordered the AEDs, and they have received our check and are just awaiting shipment. We used the remaining funds that we had available from the ARPA, which was the COVID money that we had gotten in 21. It was only allowed to be used for certain things, and since our water project came in so much under budget, we had enough money left to purchase AEDs, so the town will now have AEDs in the pool, the Quonset hut, the highway barn, the library, and the highway superintendent will have one in his car, in his truck for when they're out on the roads, and since he is a certified EMT. So he will have one. The library reimbursed the town for their AED, so it did not come out of town funds. And the two solar companies, I have contacted both of them and requested that they send them checks for the funds that we paid on their behalf for the acting as the lead agent for their seeker. We had MBA do that for us, the engineering company. So we are, I've gotten half of the money for GSPP. We will be getting total from the two companies, will be being reimbursed over $18,000, or about $18,000. So that is not found money. It's just reimbursing the town for money that we spent in order to move these projects ahead. So I think that is all I have. Mhm.
Summary as written, building permits issued 9, closed out 2 certificate of occupancy, 1 temporary certificate of occupancy, 8 certificate of compliance, 1 stop work order, and open permits currently 23. We're down to a small handful of the old system, which will be nice. It's kind of a pain. So that stop work order, 99 Gulf Parks Road. Happened to be driving by the serendipity Friday afternoon and saw the Amish moving a Amish built double wide up the driveway. Stopped the fella, asked him if he had a permit. He gave me that blank stare and I went cat look. I told him that shouldn't be building. Issued the stop work order Saturday. morning. The owners did call, very nice, very reasonable. Hopefully we can work through this. They kind of got themselves into a mess because the design, it's considered a living, right, you know, considered residential. They were gonna live in it, albeit weekend type stuff, but the bedroom windows aren't big enough. There's a number of issues with it, up to and including everything's concealed. They've got walls built on the inside, so you can't inspect wiring, you can't inspect insulation, framing, whatnot, but like I said, we'll do our best to work through that. Gulf Hill Road, 3855 Gulf Hill, having an issue there. Apparently, there were issues in years past with this owner, but their building permit is expired for a pole barn. Just from the road, it doesn't look like the quality of build is the best. It's been sitting kind of half done for a while. He did threaten me on the phone, but very abusive and abrasive. I've written him a couple of times. All I'm looking for him to do is review the permit and let me get in there and do an inspection. He is now not only not communicating, but during the phone conversation, accused me of being a clandestine state trooper, whatever, because the son got arrested. The troopers are using me to get to him, whatever. Of course, the Lake Street pole barn. And just to recap that on the record, Mrs. Pizzaka came in for a building permit application on 8/21/23. It was about 20 minutes before the board meeting. She came in. And normally I can cut a building permit for a pole barn pretty quickly, as long as I'm sure that it's not gonna be on a neighbor's lot or whatever. They've got reasonably good drawings. She handed me a survey. It was probably from the 1940s or 50s. It had no dimensions on it. That is a converging lot. It converges to a point, which means there's no depth. And they were at that end. And with that, I told her I can't issue a building permit. And just so you know, there is the blank building permit that I did not issue. She was despondent at the time and basically said, the Amish are coming tomorrow. I have no way of getting a hold of them. Can you be there at 7:30 in the morning? When I arrived at 7:30 in the morning,
They'd already started.
with my wife in the car, so talking about witnesses, the posts were already in the ground. You know, they weren't stable, but they were in the ground. So that is what it is. Since that time, I've got a ream of paperwork going back and forth between myself, the Pizzankas, and the railroad. Pretty clear that they know they're on somebody else's property. Why they keep perpetuating this easement thing when their own survey has indicated on it that there's a town right of way easement. I just don't understand it. I mean, they are among the easiest structures to build. There's really not a lot of issues with them ever. It's just a matter of where they've got this placed. And I get that there's no, I get that there's no zoning, but their intent that they're gonna put this thing 1 foot on the lot. Just, I will not issue a building permit under those circumstances. But I did issue them a letter indicating what they can do to get a building permit, and it's gone in one ear and out the other. They're just tone deaf to it. And frankly, I'm done arguing with her. And she is correct. I did get a little loud with her. I wasn't abusive or abrasive, but I was pretty frustrated.
You don't have a choice. I've heard most of the conversations. You don't have a choice. She doesn't give you a choice. Matter. She's yelling over you.
I can vouch that
Yeah, it's been a problem.
she's been a problem on the lake for a long time, so. And I think the neighbors already put a fence up because they planned on, if you guys heard me ask that they have more property farther down, they have more property farther down, but it's not close enough for them to block across the railroad tracks to get to the park. So that's why they want to build it where it's at. That's the main reason. But they have property farther enough down, am I right, Scott?
Yeah, we got, yeah.
Yep, they got property farther down, wouldn't be in the right of way, wouldn't be on railroad property,
Yeah, I got
but they don't want to do that.
It's 149.
They want to make it so she can walk across the railroad tracks.
But the neighbor put a fence up, so they
And
can't
you
do
put
it.
a fence up so they can't do it. But she's still
So what's the
persistent that
point?
that's what she wants.
Yeah.
So that's what we're doing.
Go out on the road.
Oh, yeah, she, otherwise they gotta go all the way around.
So if you're going all the way around, here's the property, here's the pole barn, they own all of this.
So they own that
This
whole
is- this is
strip.
Lake Street. Put it up here. You're going up Lake Street anyway. But I've talked to them, they came down to my problem. complaining and screaming and yelling. And I said, go down and move down, you got hot, and it's high ground, it's flat, it's
Yeah.
nice, it's. Nope.
It's not convenient. I've had the same conversation.
The attorney, had a colorful email exchange with the attorney. Actually, I like that because it helps my own my writing skills. You know, being retired, I don't get to do that every day, but it appears that he is the kind of the lead attorney for the New York State Insurance Fund out of Buffalo. I think the director of loss prevention or something like that. I'm kind of curious as to whether he's a family friend or whether he's representing them as part of the New York State Insurance Fund. Because honestly, there might be an ethical issue there. He's moonlighting on the side while he's working and the taxpayers are paying his salary and pension, so stay tuned.
No, we're not settled yet. Look, it's not over yet.
I can tell you.
That's okay.
Give me-
Yeah, but they're gonna.
Makes $136,192 a year.
Maybe they will. Okay, next.
You done? or-
Just a
I got
quick
one.
thing,
I got one.
the system reports are attached, but I did want to let everybody know, we are making a little bit of headway, as you mentioned, Lambert's Auto. I've had a couple of conversations with Mr. Lambert. I want to say he's maybe finally starting to get it. He's made some progress. I've asked him maybe to replace the fence, doesn't have to do it all at once. And we talked, I said, you didn't get this mess all in one day, so just work at cleaning it up.
When the other end of it was a mess then.
The other end of town, where the Country Club of State sign is, he's starting to clean that up too. I had Ron Wainwright in. It's a tenant that made the mess, so I've been on phone with him. Ron has actually talked to get some of that cleaned up. If you go by there, you'll notice that a good portion of that mess is cleaned up too. And we've had a couple of others. Somebody mentioned trailers, Reynolds Road. I got a couple of those cleaned up. There was one that's just nasty with garbage all around it. They did get a dumpster, get all that up off the ground, so. Just want to make sure.
House on 16 there, where they got all the totes in the yard and grasses and behind.
Down that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, a fellow owns that. He lives in Cuba. Most of his adult life, he's been incarcerated, so he's in and out.
He doesn't respond.
I've written, I don't know how many certified letters have we sent to him?
Yeah, he doesn't respond.
He's current on his taxes.
I think he
Yes.
was late the last I looked, but somebody told me that he's again incarcerated, county jail. Don't know if he's.
He wasn't behind enough that it would be foreclosed.
Okay.
When can we close?
It's 2 years. You don't pay your taxes for 2 years, they take your property. Yeah.
There's a bargain for you.
You're getting burned out. You know.
I'm good.
Thanks, Scott. Anything from the youth commission?
Chicken barbecue next Monday, Fire Hall, $15 for a meal. We're starting right after the parade time until it's gone. The junior firemen are doing a basket raffle as well that day. Pool business, Beauty Pools came out and fixed the skimmer lines so far. We're waiting on them to send a quote for the chlorine pump and valve replacement. So hopefully we get that within the next week or so. Hoping for opening date of the week of June 17th. Open for business, cross your fingers.
Did they tell you that they were gonna get a hold of you? They haven't got a hold of you yet?
Karen was in, they talked, so he said he was gonna send a quote, I guess, between Tony and the business lady, I think run that, they don't really talk and know what each other is doing, so, that's been a little bit of a struggle,
I
but,
can make a phone call to the lady at the front desk,
okay, hey,
my son's girlfriend.
okay. So we've tried to plan this community day for the last couple rainy months, but we're gonna try to get together next week, Tuesday and Wednesday, the 28th and 29th from 5 to 8. If anybody wants to come and grab a paintbrush and help us paint some equipment, we would be very grateful for that. Recreation, everything's in motion with that. It starts July 8th, goes to August 16th. We're having signups at the chicken barbecue at the Delavan Elementary School. They're having a plan night on the 31st. And then, of course, the first day of recreation, $60 per child, a Machias resident, and if you're out of Machias, it's $75 per kid. We have Delavan Recreation joining us on Wednesdays for use of the pool, and West Valley is going to join us on Tuesdays and Thursdays.
So there's a charge for that.
Yes, we have that set up already. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head. So we do have some questions about the blacktop area that Tim was talking about. Is that the whole walking path around? Or,
I think that's just the path from what he's explained, is just the path from the pool to the parking lot to the new playground. I don't think that's the whole big walking path around the whole park. He didn't read that, that's not.
our path liaison, Danielle would like to speak on that.
So I guess if we've had like several local businesses talk about wanting to help by, hey, we'll give you this much. I'm not good at, digging and the sand and the stuff we gotta put down and then the paper, all those things are there. So if there's businesses that are willing to do that in our area, willing to help us with that, why have Tim put his resources into just this much? When a company or companies are willing to do it, why not have them do the whole thing instead of it being just our thoughts? Like, I'm thinking of this, like, why have him do that? And then we have to go back again at a later date and do, so like, if it's worth it,
Well, the
maybe
walking,
it's worth it. to-
walking path wasn't gonna be
And
blacktop, is it? Was it just gonna be
Oh, we talked about crushed lime.
crushed limestone, right? It's not gonna be a blacktop type thing.
I mean, that would be nice.
But if that, you know what I mean? So like, do we want part of it like that, or do we want the whole thing the same? Is kind of where my thought was going before we made a decision, I guess, is I didn't know what would be best, but I just thought maybe that's something to put on the table.
Okay.
Then maybe you guys just need to set up a meeting with Tim.
Yeah, we tried.
Okay, well, secretary apparently, so I'll talk to you after, you call me, and I'll get in touch with Katie. I'll get in touch with Katie and since apparently he needs a liaison with you guys, so I'll help you with that.
Sounds good.
No problem. Oh, and just so, I did forget, and this is sort of Steve sitting there sort of made me think of it. The banners for the American Legion Hometown Heroes were delivered today by Steve. And the highway guys will start putting those up, and their plan is to have them all up before Memorial Day. So, so there's a few typos on some of them that will get fixed at some point, but they look good, the ones that I peeked at, so, progress.
How many you got, Steve?
57.
60, right?
57.
57.
Yeah, and I expect that once people see them up, we will have another rush of people that I didn't know, and Steve said we will continually be able to get these, so, that's not a problem.
What do we count it, 40? Steve, how many polls do we have? 44?
Oh, well,
We did. Daryl, I counted 44 polls. So you could potentially have 88.
well, there's more polls, because they can put them on other ones too.
Well, yeah, we can go different ways.
Yeah.
I'm just saying,
Yeah,
from
yeah.
the police barracks to the end at 16, you got 40. Or before the
Yeah.
bridge.
Right, but they are hoping to have those all up before Memorial.
Gotta be sure.
Cool.
Yeah, may I have another quick thought?
Yep.
You sure? One thing I did want to mention, kind of a situation that's been brewing for a little while. There's a local licensed professional engineer that does a lot of business in the surrounding area. The quality of prints that he turns out is exceedingly poor. I've got several people in the community that used them, some are on their third and fourth iteration of trying to get these things fixed. I just received another set last week. I bring that up because the Pitsakas have filed application for an addition onto their home and used him, and I did return some information to them basically stating that they're gonna have to get the drawings corrected and updated. Um, Just, again, not that I like this abundance of caution, I did contact the Department of State a few months back. Actually sent a copy of one of his packages, and their comments back to me is, why would you ever consider issuing a building permit with a set of drawings like this? So but it's likely gonna come back to another visit in there.
So it's on the whole barn.
And it's nothing personal. I mean, an addition on a cottage like that is perfectly normal, perfectly acceptable, but the drawings have to, or at least close to it.
Yeah, like, oh, we could get vertical.
All right, next thing I have here, I told you guys about this, but I received a letter from Kent County IDA. Green Street Solar is applying for tax breaks, for their project. They're looking for exemptions from the county for mortgage taxes as well as real property tax, which would then put us into this payment in lieu of tax program, in which the town is left with the smallest portion.
No,
So they have asked, if the town has any objections to this, please provide us with a written objection letter no later than June 3rd. So, just looking to respond back to them with, how we feel about that as a board.
Do we need a motion that we don't agree with it, but?
no, we're not gonna do it. Right. They've already done all of it. This is way, way past the time it should have been.
This is your chance, you can make your thing. I will. There you go.
Right.
You're up.
You have a motion?
Yes.
One second.
All in favor?
All right,
Opposed?
you're gonna send them a look.
Yep.
Perfect.
That's that. Committee reports, we already heard some names. Good there. Old business, we have some resolutions here for, municipal solutions. From the grant.
Yeah. Leave you waiting to read the heading.
Yeah, we're not gonna make it. On the third one, then, this is for the municipal solutions. The second.
The water project.
Okay, got it.
Resolution to authorize supervisor to sign contract with municipal solutions to prepare water project grant application.
I'll move it. Okay.
Josh,
Yes?
Frank,
Yes.
Tom?
Yep.
Nick.
Yes.
You have a second one for municipal solutions, which is a contract to proceed with preliminary services for future potential projects.
One second.
Josh,
Yes.
Frank,
Yes.
Tom?
Yep.
Nick.
Yes.
That's it. Now we're gonna go back to the beginning, and address this G&G grant writing, which is, to apply for a planning grant.
Just the first one?
Yeah.
But before we do that, let's go to the back page, so we can get that transferred, because we have to be able to move some funds, to pay for that. So we have a resolution to authorize creation of budget line 8020.4, which Kathy just created for planning contractual. And so we need to decide as a board how much money we're gonna transfer and from which budget lines. I think, so I told you that they're charging us $125 hourly rate, and they're estimating 10 hours to complete that. That grant application. I originally thought we should move $2,000 over so we have some money to play with, but being that we're gonna move that from supervisor contractual, that's pretty much all I have left on the in that account there, so I don't know what you guys wanna do,
Why don't you wanna move,
maybe 1,500.
I was gonna say, you want to move 1,500 from your budget, and level, we'll review it as things progress. If we have to do more, we can always vote on it later. At least that's my opinion.
I'm good with that, that'll get us going on it.
Okay.
1,500 from the supervisor.
20.4.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it.
Josh,
yes,
Frank?
Yep.
Tom?
Yep.
Nick?
Yes.
all right, so go back to the front page, resolution to authorize supervisor to sign agreement for grant writing services with G&G Municipal Consulting and grant writing. And this is for them to work on the plan grant for us.
This has to specifically say how many hours and how much money the board is authorizing you to spend. It can't, it has to be specific in order for that to be, because the planning committee does not have anybody that, in that planning line, in the budget, has to be approved by the board for every expense prior to the expense being made.
So, I mean, in the agreement, they've estimated 10 hours.
So you can do 10 hours or you can do 11 hours, but you have to put it in there and that's how it is. And then if it changes, it has to be, you can't, it can't be approved verbally, it has to be approved by resolution by the board.
So it has to be rewritten 10 hours.
Yeah, I mean, if that's what you want to put, that's, yeah.
What is it?
It should
What
be
hour or just a dollar amount?
Since they're charging by the hour and they told you how many hours, that's what I would put. I would put, 10 hours at $125.
Yeah, that's the rate, 10
Yeah.
hours times only 25
Yeah.
hours.
So, I would, whereas the proposed agreement is an hourly rate, and we have agreed to, we have approved 10 hours at $125 per hour.
All right.
I'll move it.
Yes. Josh,
Yes.
Frank?
Yep.
Yep.
Nick?
Yes.
I just wanted to talk for a quick minute about the dog control. Contract. With the letter that they can find but they're not going to continue their municipal agreement anymore, starting in the beginning of next year. So we have to start talking about options or what we might want to do for dog control.
Didn't we say that Delavan does, they have their own now too?
I believe Delavan has their own.
Yeah, we need I believe says it.
Do we have a number that we could contact her and see if they'd be interested in picking it up?
I can certainly get that.
Okay. That's our closest,
Yeah, and then there's,
we're not gonna start all over again in Harris.
Right now, it's
Yeah, or West Valley.
West Valley also does it?
West Valley, Ag and Markets Law, Article 7, Section 113. Every town that charges for dog licenses must appoint a dog control officer. So by law, we are required to either be in contract with an IMA
Okay.
or have our own dog control.
well, we have to have somebody.
Yeah, we don't, and it would be financially restrictive for us to try to open our own kennel again.
Oh, yeah.
So we'd have to work with somebody else.
Yeah. I mean, what kind of contract, does anybody know the figures that we have now?
It was like
Was in the budget.
$6,500 for the year.
How much was it?
It was $6,500 for the year.
So then we'll have to touch base with West Valley and Delavan.
Yeah.
See what we got.
And Franklinville would like to know if we would consider paying mileage for our dog control calls because they have lost their vehicle. And they now have to pay mileage to Sam Smith, the dog control officer. So they were hopeful that that would be an option, so that's something.
Oh,
And
yeah.
obviously, we're not obligated.
Right.
What?
we do, so what they're saying is they can't make us pay anymore because we have a contract, but they're hoping that
On the goodness of.
We play nicely, is what they're hoping.
Because of their issues.
But they also just,
Yeah,
told us-
for us,
but they
they-
also just told us to consult, so,
Yeah,
which they didn't have to do, they could have continued
Suppose if
their.
we don't pay, they won't show up, so.
Well, no, they have to, we have a contract, she had, Sam has to show up.
Well,
They have to pay her,
What day?
Sam's there, we have the contract with them, and she works for them, so she still, I mean, if we call.
did they give you a figure on how much it was per mile?
Well, they're going mileage rate is 67.5 cents a mile, that's a state.
Yeah, let's table it.
Let me tell you last time. Let's hear from the
Yikes.
another dollar control first before we, I can reach out to Ash. Okay. well,
Yeah, that's what West
I
Valley.
think that one too. That should do.
Well, I can do it together.
Yeah, well, that's West Valley is, yeah. I talk to Patty all the time.
And we have one in Dover also. You're gonna take care of Dover too, Josh, or?
We have a contact.
Yeah, it's Kathy, I believe it's Kathy Neiman. So yeah, I mean, I was just gonna call the clerks and find out what they do, so.
You want to reach out to Solomon?
Yeah, that's fine.
And so I'll reach out to Ash for a moment to get together and see.
Okay.
Move on. Audit claims for May. We have a general fund, we have 33,721.26. General youth, we have 2,369.9 cents. Highway fund, we have 16,044.91 cents. Street lighting, we have 1,559 cents. Water fund, we have $4,518.76. And Lime Lake Sewer Fund, we have $5,995.18.
Okay, Josh,
Yes.
right?
Yep.
Yep.
Yes.
You know,
Evan. Ricky, I'll look up and check it for the cemetery, can take care of that, so.
Well, that's in there.
It's in there.
Yeah, it's in there. It's in the general fund.
No,
No, it's already approved. Yeah, he didn't realize.
It's been,
Okay.
It's in there.
we all. You got anything else?
The only other thing, you didn't bring it up and I stuck it in here and didn't see it. They have created, and I have a copy in each of your packets, a new rental agreement for the park pavilion. Basically, the cost stays the same, it's $25. But they are requiring a security deposit, since we've had problems in the past with people leaving mess and damaging things. And then they included a fee for use of the pool if you are renting the pavilion, because people from out of town, along with the town people like to use that, so, just needs to be looked at, I don't know that, yeah, I don't know that, I mean, when I looked at it, I didn't see anything really wrong with it, I mean, but that's. I have had people calling, I did rent the park to one person just because she was calling and scheduling a surprise party, so I did rent it to her, so she did not have to pay the security deposit, just because she's grandfathered in. But I've been holding everybody else off the calls, I just keep pushing them back, so. But this is the time of year when people really start calling for their summer parties, so. And Tim was gonna work on something, some sort of sign or something, so that people know when it is rented, because we've had issues in the past where somebody's like, well, I rented it, and people are like, well, we're already here, so too bad, so, Tim was gonna work on some sort of notification sign that, the park is, the pavilion is reserved today. So.
Motion to adjourn.
No, I got one.
Oh, you got it?
So I had a nice conversation with our tax assessor. And I don't know, if David, you've been around forever, I mean, this is crazy. And she's hitting Machias 4 years straight. 10% again. And her reasoning is, of course, any new construction demo adjustment data accounted for all these new rates. And I said, well, how long are you gonna keep doing this? She says, every year. So Machias is going up in value.
Well, that was one of the things that I said, taxes are a major issue.
Right. So I said, well, but wait, Yorkshire hasn't been reassessed since 2015.
Yeah.
Ellicottville hasn't been reassessed since 2009.
Yeah, you don't think their values are just as expensive?
And she said to me that about Ellicottville, the values have leveled off. So my question is, I'm not, we hire cat cow. I mean, if we could get some qualified person in our own town, I think we ought to go back to our own tax assessor like we had all the years prior. I've been here 30 years, and this is just nuts.
Yeah.
Code man could do that.
All right, you want more stress.
His hair ain't great.
I mean, that's something I think.
I don't have any
I think we ought to consider, guys, this is insanity.
Pay a tax assessor.
We pay,
10,000, I think we paid, our contract is 10,000 plus we pay something else for.
yeah,
reval,
plus all the other,
Plus the reval. and-
plus the reval, we pay her for all, and we pay her to do this.
Yeah.
She gets paid extra to rebalance.
Doesn't New York State, didn't they pass though that they're trying to get every town and city, across the board at 100%?
Yeah, but who says what 100% is every town? I can make, I mean, it's, you leave Ellicottville alone, you leave Yorkshire alone, and you're killing us.
Well, that's the.
They use what's called the mass appraisal system, and it's some god awful database. Basically, they punch in square footage, a bunch of other data, and bang, it spits out a value. They don't have any clue, and I can tell you this because I've been to small claims court X number of times, about 700. Basically, there's no reasonable way for a homeowner to challenge that because it's some arcane database spits out a number. Nobody knows how it works. It just works.
Well, Dave knows he's on the bar.
Yeah.
Which is next Tuesday, the 28th, from 4 to 8 PM, grievance day.
Yeah.
When is it?
Grievance day, next Tuesday.
But the true issue is not enough people grieve their taxes and enough people take it to small claims court.
There's a lot of people going to call for it.
Well, that's it, and the problem being, small place for is a real hair-raising event, and you go through all that.
And if it
They
don't,
really make it, so it's not worth your time to do it.
I forget the percentage, but I think it's 20 or 25% of the people grieve their taxes. They have to redo the tax roll.
But anyway, something we ought to consider. I mean, it's, her explanation, I said, well, you haven't done Farmersville 5 or 6 years. Well, we got them now, she said. I said, how much did they go up? She said 3%. Well, she raised us, she put it on 10%. No, but they only raised the taxes.
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
It's not just the child also, the whole life doing the same thing every year. It's keeping them up and up.
Yes,
I just feel the same.
We'll take you out back and have a blanket for you. Yeah.
Anyway, I'd make a motion.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye. It's been fun.